guys, welcome back. This is Dana from Masterland Investing. Thank you guys for tuning into our video. What this video is going to be about is actually buying property when nobody else is buying property. I've talked about it earlier in other lessons on videos in reference to understanding the 4 phases of a real estate cycle. I can't emphasize enough, that's probably the one key factor that you really need to understand more than anything. It truly is. But anyways, that being said, if you want to be a smart investor and you want to be somebody that wants to build long-term wealth, then understand the 4 phases of real estate cycle is real important. And one of the reasons is that in the 4 phase of real estate cycle, one of the last phases before we go into recession is the hyperinflation. And it's at the peak of the market, things are cranking, things are moving, there's builders out there, land prices are at a premium. What happens is once that stops, prices usually crash. Typically starts in the bricks and mortar, residential community, trickles over to a little longer period to the commercial end of business, and then into the land business. Sometimes it's hand in hand with residential bricks and mortar and land. Typically a little different, but it all falls in suit. And the reason I say that is because there's a lot of money being made through the 4 phase real estate cycle, but to create true value, and I've done it in the past, is to time the market right, understand the 4 phases, and buy when nobody else is buying. When everybody says to you, you're crazy to be buying property, nobody wants property, the property isn't worth a crap, those properties are worth 50, now they're worth nothing. Well, if you listen to what I just said, it's like with the stock market. Even Warren Buffett would say it. He's made all his money by being a professional, being an expert at understanding companies, studying companies, researching companies, understanding how that company's run, what their intentions are, what their business model is. But most of all, understanding the market, watching market trends in the stock market, watching these big companies, and trying to time it when it's at their lowest point. For whatever reason, there's a hiccup in the market, consumer confidence changes, there's a ripple for some reason, somewhere, somehow in the market. And he'll even say, if you watch some of his videos, you can never time it perfect, but the key to value is to time it when you think it's just about at the lowest before it starts to climb again. So that goes back to referencing vacant land as an investor. There's many avenues to make money in the land investing business. I think some people may be aware the market's changing a little bit. I know in Florida, I'm thinking it's right now towards more of a hyperinflation phase. But anybody that's the smart long-term investor in the land business or real estate investing business, they buy land typically when it's at its lowest point. I'm going to tell you a quick story. Years ago, I was soliciting an area over on the west coast of Florida. At that time, I was doing the calls personally. We hadn't hired a team yet. So we'd acquire a list, hire someone to match names with phone numbers, cost us some money to do so. And then I would get on the horn and I would personally every evening call these people with a goal that I was going to have 10 people say yes if it took me 500 phone calls. Well, this one particular evening, or I guess it was late afternoon, I made contact with an older gentleman. I don't recall where he lived, somewhere in the Midwest. And this guy was a Sharpie. And I made my presentation to him, told him who I was interested in some property. I didn't realize when I called him, I hadn't gone to the county site, that this particular person owned more vacant land, waterfront and vacant lots than anybody I'd ever talked to ever in my life. I told him what I was doing. He said, what do you want to pay for my property? He let me speak like a sharp, savvy business person. When I got done giving him my spiel, he said, well, I'm not interested in selling any property. At the time, the market was fairly low. The prices were down. I was trying, myself and my partner were timing the market on the low end, buying low with the educated knowledge that we knew we had, that we're at the lower end of the phases of the real estate cycle, that prices were going to go up. He told me on the phone, he gave me about 20 minutes of his time. He told me that he wouldn't buy anything in any particular area that he invested in his past at the prices we're willing to pay for the property. He told me the way you make your money is you buy them at the bottom. Like what I'm telling you, don't buy them when anybody else is buying them. You buy when nobody else is buying, when everybody thinks you're crazy. This particular person must have owned, I'm going to guess, $30–40 million in vacant waterfront lots at a minimum. I bet he owned 100 to 200 vacant waterfront lots. He must own 400 or 500 vacant lots just in the particular area that I was soliciting how I got a hold of this guy. He gave me a couple more minutes of his time. He told me where I should be investing. He mentioned Hawaii at the time. This is back in the early 2000s. And then all of a sudden he ended the call abruptly, said, I haven't got much more time. I got better things to do. Have a good day. Click. I never forgot that phone call. So I just want to share with you guys in this video that there's many ways to make money in the land business. But the smartest, most savvy land investors, the ones that look long term, the ones that put a team together or stack up their money and position themselves to buy when nobody else is buying. Now don't forget, I talked about in another video where areas I bought property at 5 to 10,000. Within a year they went to 100 plus. Did well. Bought other areas I bought them at $1,500 and they went to almost 20. That same particular area I'm referring to at $1,500 to 20, I've recently just picked up a handful of them at $500 because I know the market's flat in that particular area. My point of view is at $500, that's an easy nut to crack. I can do that every week or so. I could buy one a week at that point if I can get them. And there's not much to lose because I'm at the bottom of the barrel. In Florida, there's a company that developed most of everything in South Florida by the name of General Development. I want to say they started out as Deltona or vice versa, then they went to General Development. They did Marco Island, anything in Florida that has the name Port in front of it, they developed that. It was a pair of brothers and a whole investment team. They owned the equipment, they bought raw land, platted it out, sold it. I've bought areas that were General development areas in Florida, that areas that they developed in the late 70s, early 80s. They did a 3-day fly-in buy. They sold property overseas at R&R stations during Vietnam and earlier times. I've bought in properties cheaper in some of these areas than they were originally marketing in them in the 70s to their potential buyers. Back then they did something like $100 down or $500 down, under $100 a month. Own your dreamland, own property in Sunshine State, come to retire, buy now, enjoy later. They had an 85% closing rate on their deals. They would pay you for a 3-day fly-in, all expenses paid, put you in a hotel room, keep you away from phones, any other scuttlebutt, bus you into these properties, close the deal. Imagine 85% closing rate. Well, the reason I say that is because it's the same scenario. They were developing property. They took big parcels, cut them into pie pieces, and sold them to the general public. They were professional marketers. But once again, the key is to buy low, understand your business, become a professional. If anything, understand the 4 phases of the real estate cycle. Not many of these other courses discuss it. They don't get into detail about it. I don't hear it much on YouTube when I'm just cross-referencing different things to make sure I dot every I, cross every T for you guys. So keep that in mind. Be a smart investor. Think long-term. Obviously, it's an age factor. If you're getting up there in age, these windows, a typical full cycle, 4-phase real estate cycle, is anywhere from 12 to 17, 18 years is all 4 phases. It does a full cycle. So it's never really too late, but most important, we're going to reiterate, it's education. So understand the 4 phases of the real estate cycle, do your homework, get a handle on what's going on in your market, because it may be different in California, may be strong, Florida may be weak, the Midwest may have something going on and it hasn't got to the hyperinflation phase or hasn't gone to the recession, vice versa. So each particular area is a little different. Understand your marketplace, be a professional in your specific part of the land investing business, but take this lesson, put it in your box of tools, and remember, the key to wealth is to buy at the bottom, as close as you can to the bottom. You buy when nobody else is buying. Many people I talked about in earlier lessons, people were buying 5, 6, 7 deep, meaning they were 6th and 7th person that bought a property from us. Within a year or two, they didn't do their homework. They paid a premium and got their butt bit at the end when things crashed. So don't put yourself in that position. Be smart. Make sure you leave enough meat on the bone, enough wiggle room to adjust to the market if it changes all of a sudden on you. Typically, you'll have a little window of time to see it coming. But that's my lesson for the day. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please hit the subscribe button if you did, if you haven't been a subscriber yet. We'd love to have you hit the like button. We need more and more of those so other people can get this information, know what we're all about. Once again, go out there, be generous with your time. Don't be greedy. Try to inspire somebody every day if you can. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.